Warren here, and you've joined us for the Our Millwall Fan Show with the Millwall No One Likes Us Talking team.
I'm Libby Stubbs.
And I'm Millie Connell. Why not sponsor one of our teammates just like they do?
To find out how, just email commercial@millwall-lionesses.com. I'll say that again, commercial@millwall-lionesses.com.
That is all you have to do, and it will help us to get back to where we belong.
Now enjoy our Millwall Fan Show from the No One Likes Us Talking team.
Hello and welcome to the No One Likes Us Talking podcast. Joining us today is Ted Robinson. Hi, Ted.
Evening, Gary.
Stan Godwin.
Yeah, all right, Gary.
How you doing, Stan?
I'm doing all right. And yourself?
And the returning legend that is George Lampey. Hi, George.
Hello, Gary. You've made Ted start coughing now.
I nearly choked then. The legend that is.
I don't remember George. When did George acquire legendary status? I mean, or did I miss that?
You must have missed it.
It's in the script.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
So, George,
you misread the script there, Gary. That was leg end.
Right. Firstly, how are we all? Let's discuss Birmingham. I'll start with Ted on this one.
But yeah, Birmingham, a little bit disappointing, I suppose, but it's hard to be disappointed when you equalise in the last minute and keep everything sort of bubbling, I suppose. I was really disappointed first half with the way we played, especially with the team that Gary Rowett picked, because I've got to be honest, I think I would have picked the same team. It looked good, having came off the back of our performance a week before. I was expecting it to carry on because we all know the position we're in and what we need to do. And it was a little bit disappointing. And then, there was little things that occurred in the game, like their first goal where Hutch appeared to be a little bit rusty, for want of a better word, because he should have just hoofed the ball out. And I don't know what he'd done. It finished up going in to their bloke and in the back of the net. And it was a bit of a comedy of errors. But fair play to the lads. They kept going. They came back. We had chances before we scored our equaliser. And then chances afterwards, a final ball here and there that went amiss, and
I also got the impression that I thought the referee was evening things up.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and thankfully he did, because I didn't see it at the time, the George Savile, well, if you call it a tug, it's a bit of an exaggeration.
But if you look at every other corner for the last 15 seasons, they've all been the same. Yeah.
There's been people have been pulling people 10 times worse than what George Savile there, and the fact was the ball never even got anywhere near that bloke. No. It was headed out from the first guy. You know what I mean? It's not even sort of got past the first person. So he seemed to be itching to give something like that, though. Gal, I don't know what you thought about his performance, but as usual,
I think he was effective. It was interesting to hear the Birmingham fans just as mad as we were. To be honest.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But, thankfully he did even it up at the end. It was a bit of a collision that went on. They all just tumbled down. And it's one of them that you're giving the referee the opportunity to make a decision. Thankfully he gave it to us. And I've got to give Benik Afobe 10 out of 10 for rolling that into the corner, because, it was the whole of our season resting on getting something out of that game. Otherwise, it would have been all over, really. And thankfully, he did it. So there was patches of the game where we was good, but there was far too many patches where we weren't so good. So, it was overall, it was a bit disappointing, but come out there well relieved that we actually got something that I think we did deserve. I think a draw was probably a fair result, but it was just lovely to wipe the smile off of Lyle Taylor's face. Anyway, that was
It was, and I hadn't seen that little dance they did in the corner, Ted, as well. I hadn't seen that until a couple of days later, and I was like, "Ooh, no wonder everyone was saying."
Yeah, he had a real smirk on his face, didn't he?
Yeah. Listen, Lyle Taylor, he knows Millwall. He's been from Millwall roots, if you want to put it that way, when he was with us as a young kid, wasn't he? So listen, I can understand sort of it, but he should have known better. To behave like. I've got Charlton mates that absolutely hate the man with passion.
Wow.
Right, because of what he done to Charlton. They genuinely, I think if he goes anywhere near Charlton's ground again, you'll have Charlton fans turning into, I don't say Millwall fans, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. They absolutely hate him with a passion. And I think he showed his mentality, if that makes it any sense there, because there's no need for any of that sort of stuff. But look, the other thing was they was wasting so much time, and I hate that. I know we do it when we're in front, but I hate it when people are doing it against us, and especially their goalkeeper, who seemed to be falling over every time the ball came into the box and laying on the floor. So they was trying to hang on, trying to ride it out, wasting as much time as they could. And of course, the other thing is it's always lovely to wipe the smile off Bowyer's face. So, yeah, a draw was a fair result. And I'm say 10 out of 10 to Benik Afobe for the way he put the penalty away.
Stan, do you think the same?
Well, yeah, I mean, I only saw the game later on, like the highlights of it. But no, I mean, I was glad that they took the smile off of Bowyer's boat race, I must admit, because he must have thought he hit the jackpot when they were 2-1 up. Because his record against us as a manager, he still ain't won yet, and and if there's one team he wants to beat more than anybody else, it's Millwall. So, and as for Taylor, I mean, I see what he was getting up to, and I thought, dear, oh dear, But no, I mean, I mean, that's the sort of game that perhaps 18 months ago we'd have lost that game. True. All right, we got a draw, and if Ted's telling me or everybody else that was probably a draw was a fair result, well, I don't have a problem with that. I'd rather have a point than nothing. I mean, ideally you'd want 3 points, but you can't always get what you want. But I'd rather have something than nothing. Tell me, Ted, did Troy Deeney play?
No, he never came.
No, he wasn't
was
on the pitch.
I will say one thing, Birmingham. He was on the bench, yeah. But I'll say one thing: Birmingham played better than they have done for quite some time. I mean, I said going into the ground, I'm always wary of a side that's just lost 6-1 because they're professional footballers, for Christ's sake. Nobody likes to be humiliated. And Lee Bowyer would have tore into them. He'd have emphasised that it's Millwall and how much he hates Millwall and how much he would have wanted to forget about what's going on at this football club. Get out there and prove that you're footballers, sort of thing. He wouldn't have needed to motivate them too much, and they certainly played that way when they came out. But unfortunately, a lot of football fans tend to expect after the side's been beaten 6-1, the next game they're going to get beat 7-1. Well, I knew that wasn't going to happen, but no, that's right, exactly. So it was dodgy, but it was, to me, Stan, a fair result at the end.
Well, fair enough.
Fair enough. And George, was he there?
Well, yeah. Well, I think the point Ted makes is that because they've been having a rough time, they had to show a bit of steel and unfortunately for us, it fell at our game, but they had played, better than they have done the last couple of weeks. So, I thought it was a pretty good game on our part. I think just Birmingham rose on the day because they've had such a torrid time of late. So I was happy to come away with a point. I mean, look how late it was, and I was certainly happy to see that smile off of his face.
George, I was watching on a delayed connection down at the caravan, and I was also flicking from my phone, obviously on Twitter, and I saw it come up on my phone, and I was in shock. Literally, was it +8 or something? Was it when we scored it?
Something like that. Yeah.
And I think we just suffered because they've had such bad results of late, and they just needed to put in a performance.
Yeah.
And as Ted said, lots of people think that if a team loses 1 week 4-0 or 6-1 or whatever the score won't be, well, the next week they're liable to step their game up. And I think Birmingham did, and Birmingham's never an easy place to go and get points. So, I thought we did very well, really.
Exactly. To be fair, Gal, to the referee, I did sort of run him down a minute ago. He put 8 minutes on, and rightly so, because as I say, their goalkeeper twice, I think, fell down in injury time when he just come for a cross and punched it out and was bouncing around on his legs until the ball got cleared and then fell down. So it's unusual that the referee sort of adds on injury time to injury time, if that makes sense. And but he did. But I think the key to this game was always going to be the first goal. If we'd have got the first goal, then maybe their heads might have gone into the slumber that it has been for the last few weeks. But unfortunately, they came out the traps a bit quicker than us, and it took us a while to get going. And some of our touches in the first 20 minutes was awful. Like, we couldn't seem to put 2 passes together. But as I say, like George says, when you're in that situation in the 98th minute and you come out of the ground getting something out of a game that you looked, for all intents and purposes, that you'd lost, you're always pleased. You've got to be.
Well, we'll move on. So, thanks for that, gents. So this week's show is going to be a little different. We are doing a discussion show with the panel and talking all things Millwall, including standout players, who's in and out at the end of the season, will we make the playoffs, and best and worst games of the season so far. But before we get this started, let's hear from Bethany Warren, followed by the Proper Blokes Club.
Hi, it's Bethany Warren. Thank you so much for tuning in to listen to the No One Likes Us Talking podcast. As a member of the team, I have a request for you all listening today. As some of you may have seen on social media, a very close family friend of mine, Ted Ayres, unfortunately passed away at the age of 59, losing his battle to pancreatic cancer. It's been a very sad time for the family and friends. However, I want something really beautiful to come out of this sad time. Some of you may have seen on social media that in the 59th minute, we will be doing a minute's applause for Ted. And hopefully we can make the den roar as loudly as possible and he can hear it from heaven. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, I'm Scott and I founded the Proper Blokes Club. What is that I hear you say? Well, it's for men who have experienced or going through a tough time and fancy going for a walk and a talk. Or it could be you just want to get back on top of your game, maybe feeling lonely, or you could even be new to the area and just want to get out for a walk and a talk. This could be for you. So if you'd like to join us, we run sessions every Thursday, Sunday, starting at HMS Belfast, walking along the Thames up towards Surrey Quays. Thursday start time is 6 o'clock and Sunday start time is 6:30. If you guys are on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, find the Proper Blokes Club, give it a like, give it a follow, tag and share with your friends, or if you'd like to do it the old-fashioned way, you can call Scott on 07397 501110. That's 07397 501110, and we can make arrangements for you to come along. So I look forward to seeing you joining us soon at the Proper Blokes Club.
I'm Gary Staff, and I'm back with an No One Likes Us Talking team of Ted Robinson, Stan Godwin and George Lampey. So, our first discussion point, we might as well start with the talking point for the last few weeks, which none of us, I think, ever thought we would be doing this season, is can we realistically make the playoffs? I've chucked in a couple of discussion points for the team. Are we good enough? Have the injuries taken effect and affected that? I personally don't think we're prolific in front of goal enough, but I think every team trying to get into the playoffs has been that way lately. Still needing a striker has, I think, let us down. So we started with Ted earlier. Let's start with Stan. Stan, what do you think?
Well, can I just say that before I get involved in that, I think it would be wrong if I didn't mention the fact that we should register on this show about the Millwall Community Day, which was held on 9th of April down at the community centre down at the Den, and it was a job well done by Sean and all his team. And I was there, and it was really good, and there was a lot of people there, and credit to the crown jewels of Millwall, as you know, that's what I call them. And they were absolutely superb that day, and I think that should, that was a great day. Put us in the spotlight again for the right reasons, which is always important. And I thought it was marvellous. So well done to everyone concerned.
Well said.
You're here.
Right. Now, what was the question again?
Can we realistically make the playoffs?
Can we make the playoffs? Well, let me just say this. I remember the last time we made the playoffs, and on the Saturday of the last home game, which funny enough this week is, we played Oxford and we lost 3-0, and I thought, oh, that's it, we've gone, and I left early, and I was really annoyed. And I get down halfway down Coldblow Lane, and my phone goes, and my boy's on the phone, and he said to me, "Oh, you made the playoffs." And I said to him, "Well, I won't repeat what I said on here, but I said, you being funny?" And he said, "No," he said, "because 2 other teams blew out or something, and I hadn't factored them into it, right?" So my view is we're never out of it until it's mathematically possible that we're out of the thing. But the only thing I would say in addition to that is that it's, to start off with, what we've got to write, well, there's 2 things. This tomorrow night, Sheffield United are playing QPR. Their goal difference at the moment is better than ours. If they go out and hammer QPR, I don't know, for 4-0 or 4-0, 5-0 or whatever, then it's over before we've even kicked a ball, because there is no way. I mean, our goal difference is 6 and theirs is 12, right? So we would lose out on that thing. But let's assume that for argument's sake it's a draw, or even Sheffield United lose, then on Saturday we must win. We can't go into that game and not come out with 3 points, because if we don't win that game on Saturday, I don't care if it's a penalty in the last minute. If we don't win that game on Saturday, it's good night Vienna, and then we better, because that's how fine it is. So that's what I think we need to do in terms of sack. But Alex, we can make it until it's mathematically impossible for us to do it. That's my view.
Shall I have a go here?
Oh, I thought you was going anyway, George. You normally butt in front of me, so I thought I'd let you have a go.
I think it's quite incredible that we're even in talking about the playoffs. And, I hear a lot of dissent about Rowett and all that, but I think the boys done marvellous to actually get us to the position where we're sitting here, with a couple of games to go. It may not work out for us, and it looks like it might not, but at least we're in there shouting and having a go. And the stand says it ain't over till the fat lady sings. But I think it's a real credit to everybody, to the players, to the manager and his team. So, yeah, I think we're short in areas. I think, we do. Our forward players let us down a lot of the season, especially our passing to the forward line. I think our defence and our midfield are excellent. But the fact that we're there and we're still involved, and then we got a game Saturday where I think we got a full house. I just think that's really great as far as our football club's concerned, and it's a real credit to everybody. So I don't think we could be happier at the moment. Well, we could be happier, of course, if we were sitting salt, but yeah. But yeah, it's a good.
George, just to add in there as well, Middlesbrough got Stoke on Saturday. Stoke can be a banana skin, and Blackburn are playing Bournemouth. But I think Bournemouth have still got a game in hand. I think they've still got to play.
Yeah, they've only played 43 at the moment.
Bournemouth. Yeah, who else have they've got to play someone else? Hold on, I'll tell you.
But so
they've got to play Forest. Yeah, they've got to play Forest. So, what we want is Bournemouth to beat Blackburn. That would then probably take Bournemouth out of the equation, really, and push them on. And then I think Bournemouth will beat Forest at home to go up, and then it comes down to us, doesn't it? So if we are in a position where Bournemouth have won those 2 games and helped everyone around them, really, we could be within that chance.
I think Forest are the dark horses there. I think you're going to have to watch Forest. I think Forest and them have both got a game in hand. If they have to play Forest, I'm not sure Bournemouth. I'm not sure Bournemouth could come out on top of that.
It's at Bournemouth's ground, so you never know.
Yeah.
Now you can go. We'll let you go now, Ted.
Now can I have a go? Right. I'll echo a little bit what George has said. I've got to be. It does make me laugh the way people talk about things when it gets to the end of the season, and they forget what we were all wishing for at the start of the season. If you'd have said to any Millwall fan, I'm sure at the start of the season, with 2 games to go, you're going to be in with a chance of getting in the playoffs. Everybody had been jumping up and down for joy, rather than possibly looking over your shoulder and in some sort of relegation battle. So the people that are moaning about it if we don't make the playoffs, which there will be a few, there's no doubt about that. Saying, "Oh, we missed this chance, missed that." Just think about what you thought of at the beginning of the season. So I think that they've done remarkably well considering the injuries and the COVID bouts that they've had. But can we do it? Yeah. And here's a simple scenario. All right, QPR go out and beat Sheffield United 3-0 tomorrow night. and we go out and beat Peterborough 4-0 on Saturday, we'll be above Sheffield United. And I think Middlesbrough, like you say, have got a tough one with Stoke, and Blackburn have probably got an even tougher one with Bournemouth with what's on it. So come Saturday night, it could well
be
all
the best.
change.
Yeah.
It could all. I mean, are we capable of putting 4 past Peterborough? Yeah, I think we are. If we fire the way we can do at home, which was, we've got to remember how good we've been at home, lads. We've been really, really great at home at times. And I don't know what Peterborough have got to play for. Perhaps their position within the squad for next season, that sort of thing. I don't know. But listen, if you said to me again at the start of the season to have an opportunity to get into the playoffs, you'll be playing Peterborough at home. What would we have all said? We would have jumped at that, surely. So there's a bit like Stan was saying, if it's mathematically possible, then that's it. The worst thing that could happen for us is if Sheffield United put on a performance tomorrow night and leave QPR with all 3 points. Then it may still be mathematically possible, but nigh on impossible, if you know what I mean. So let's hope QPR do us a favour.
But look what Forest did last year. That's just we can all think, we can all hope. Look,
the best thing for us.
Best thing, Joe. If we're going to go out on Saturday and we're going to go for a goal fest, say for example we win 6-0 on Saturday, and Sheffield United only win 1-0. What does that do? You know what I mean? It makes it within one goal.
I'll tell you what, Gal.
So we've got to do better result.
The best thing for us in this situation is the fact that there's no ifs or buts for us. All we've got to do, I say all we've got to do, we've only got one choice, and that's to go out and win both games. Can forget anything else. There's no if we get a draw here, which Middlesbrough, Sheffield United, and Blackburn may be thinking to themselves, perhaps if we just get a point, it'd do us or what. Points that are no good to us, we've got to win both games. So that should be our mindset. I know they all say that your mindset is always to go out and win a game, but when it's blatantly obvious to you that there's nothing else we'll do, then I'm sorry, the mental side of it within a human being, it does change you a little bit. So I'm hoping that they're going to go out gung-ho from the word go against Peterborough. And if we do manage to get ourselves in a position where we're needing something at Bournemouth, then that'll be a different game and a different way of having to play against Bournemouth to win the game, if you know what I mean. But there's no reason why we can't go out against Peterborough, go for it for the word go, and give ourselves that chance at Bournemouth. And like I say, we know what we've got to do. And it's quite straightforward. Just win the last 2 games and see where we are.
Yeah, I just think just looking at the table, QPR realistically and mathematically they can do it, but it would be a very, very tough ask. But if we can just go to Peterborough and do what we never do and actually put goals past the team, it would make our chances, if Sheffield United do win and we do win on both win on Saturday, a chance to overtake them on by scoring more goals against Bournemouth. Sheffield United
we scored 4 in the last home game, Gal. We scored 4 in the last home game against Barnsley, and we perhaps could have had more. And, I still, even with the Barnsley game, it took us a while to get to that situation.
And Sheffield United got Fulham last game of the season. Fulham want to go out on them.
Yeah. Well, Fulham want to go on high, but I thought all season that somewhere along the line we are going to thump someone at home. And although it was 4-1 against Barnsley, it never felt like a thumping, if that makes any sense. But, so I think Peterborough's that game.
Yeah, I think the dark horse in all this at the moment, and I've listened and they've not been mentioned yet, is Luton. Luton are in the whatever we do or don't do, or these other teams do or don't do. Luton are in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and it's worth mentioning, right? If by some chance, and who knows, but if by some chance Luton end up getting promoted, right? You're looking at a club, all this stuff about big budgets and star players with gold dust boots and all the rest of it, that goes right out the window, because we're talking about a club that 6 years ago was in the conference. Right?
I've done a Wimbledon.
And I'll tell you something else and all, and I was saying this to George once, right? I didn't know this, but I read that where clubs have their budgets, if they have a budget over a certain amount, that is required to be knowledge in the public domain, so to speak, right? But clubs who have a budget which is under that, they're not required to publish that budget. Luton are under that budget and they post it, right? So all I'm saying is they are the dark horse. But and Ted's right about that's what we got to do. We've got to go and win the games, and that's that's it. And hopefully we can do that. The only thing I'm a bit wary of, right, and you can call me a jinx or if you like, right, is I remember on this show when we played Peterborough away and they hadn't won in about 6 games, a bit like Birmingham. And I was on the panel then and I said at the time, it was all this, all we had to do was turn up and all that lark. And I said, well, I'm a bit worried. I said, it's all too easy. And we got there and we were dreadful and we ended up losing the game. And all I'm saying is, I'm just mindful that I don't think that'll happen on Saturday, but I'm just mindful that history don't repeat itself. But Ted's right. We've got to win them. We've got to win them games, and we need Sheffield United to drop points. If they lose, that's even better.
Stan, just to say, I'm trying to think back, the Bristol Rovers game. How many players are left in the team who had that moment? I'm thinking Hutchinson, I'm thinking Cooper. There's one or two, at least a couple that's still hanging around from that and will know that last day of the season feeling. So they can instill that, hopefully.
I think the danger here is that if Forest beat Bournemouth, then when Bournemouth come to play us, they're going to have to go hell for leather, and that's going to be a bit.
That might play into our hands.
But I think Blackburn. I think Bournemouth have already beaten Blackburn, and I think that could sort of secure it by then.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting setup as you go, but no, I agree. I mean I do agree with what Ted's saying, and there can be no argument about it, and he's absolutely right.
And I'll tell you what, if we do manage to sneak in, we will be the side that nobody wants to play.
True.
Because I don't fear any of the ones that it looks like, whoever the other 3, should we say, and it'd probably be Huddersfield, Forest, and Luton. And I've got no fears against them. The side the informed side is obviously Forest, and that. But what do we like when we're against the sides that are better than us? We play better. But I genuinely would fancy us if we get into the playoffs against any of them sides.
Question though, like the top 2, yes, you would have put these on the prediction of every person's prediction at the beginning of the season. But could you have picked that 4 at the moment if they stay the same? Would have been that 4 at the beginning of the season? Never in a million years, would you?
No, I mean, because with Forest, I mean, it was always going to be a gamble because, I mean, they've been out. They've never been in the Premier League since 1999, and they've had 14 managers, and it was all this get him in, that produce free, all right, sack him, all what we hear down at Millwall, get rid of this bloke and get somebody else in, right? That's what they were doing at Forest, and this is the nearest they've got.
Got to remember, Stan, they was in the bottom 3 in September, and they got rid of
Right, yeah.
So they was doing the same as what they've been doing for the last few years with the manager sort of thing, and were fortunate to get a very good manager come along and when you
look at his record, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, he was a player in the Welsh leagues, right, and he weren't a player for very long, right. He then went into the coaching side. Then he was at Liverpool, and there was a Spanish guy up there who he went under his wing, and he was the bloke because he's determined his philosophy. Then he went from there to the England under-19s or whatever it was. They won the World Cup, right?
Was he part of that setup? Was he? Was he part of?
He was the manager.
He was the manager.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
And then what happened was he went to Swansea last season and got them to the playoff final.
Playing lovely football.
I'm surprised you're not part of the England setup then, working with Southgate, if they're on the same philosophy.
I suppose he wanted to be a manager in his own right, didn't he? In a football league club and all that. I mean, it might well go, but what I'm getting at is, and this is, I mean, it's an amazing story, and but then again, you see, for example, I don't know if you know, but I remember watching Forest recently in a cup game, and I think they beat Derby or wherever it was. They well won the game. And that team, they had about 4 players in that team, or 5 players who'd come through their youth ranks, and the others that was on the field that day had all come in on loan from different places. Now, come the end of the season, I should imagine initially them players that are on loan will go back. Whether Forrester get them, and who knows? But it's Now and it ain't so they've got to where they've got to, not because they've been spending mega bucks, right? They got there because they've got a bloke in charge who knows what he's doing and why they're doing it and plays it in the right way, and it's there for everyone to see.
Yeah,
but couldn't you say that about us though? I think you could say the same with Rowett, if I'm honest. Maybe he's probably not been as spectacular as Steve Cooper's been.
No, that's right.
When you look about when he took over and where we are now, and I think the one thing, and I've seen it on the old script that you sent or discussion points that you sent round, Gary, that the one of the biggest things that people have underestimated, I think, is the injuries that we've had this year. I don't think I can remember a worse season for injuries that Millwall have had this year. And when I looked at what we had available to us on Saturday, was most of them coming back to us tonight, and you looked at the array of talent that was sitting on the bench, and all of a sudden we was looking a good squad, and we ain't had that for it. So for us to be where we've got this season with the problems that Gary Rowett's had to have to deal with, I think he's done remarkably well.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, when we played Birmingham Saturday, they were saying that when Rowett left Birmingham, we got the sack from Birmingham because there was new owners there, and they wanted the blue Barca. That was the expression that was used. They were 7th in the Championship. They get rid of him. And from a Birmingham City point of view, it's been a disaster ever since. They ain't been anywhere near it since. And they've had Zola in there and all these other people. Not been anywhere near it. And yet we slag him off.
Yeah. 20 points better than off this year. So, right, let's move on. Next, I want to discuss standout players. Later on, we're going to be talking about ins and outs. So let's try and avoid that at the moment. My standout players, obviously, you've got Jed, Bart, Billy, Murray to name 4. Go on then, guys. George, you haven't said much yet. We go with you.
That's the way we like it, Gal, by the way.
I don't think we can. All the players you mentioned there are great, obviously, and especially I think Murray Wallace. But nobody can not mention the boy McNamara. He's just been so good this season, and one that I think every season does well for us. He's a bit of an unsung hero in my opinion. Is Hutchinson. I just think this boy. I know he's missed a few games of late, but I think he holds that team together at the back, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. Really, he never seems to get Player of the Season or even up there. So I don't quite understand that. But I think Murray Wallace has done marvellous. But and Billy Mitchell, well, I just think he's growing all the time. So they're good choices.
Interesting. What do you think, Stan?
Well, I agree with Murray Wallace. I agree with Hutchinson. Although when you say, but where I slightly disagree with George, I think a couple of years ago, before Bart turned up, he was the supporters player of the year, old Hutch. So he's not been that hard done by. But other than that, I agree. I think Tyler Bury's been doing really well. Danny Mack has stood out. Personally, I don't think you could actually say. Well, this is my personal opinion. I don't think there's actually a bad player in that team. Obviously some are better than others. I wouldn't deny, but that's everyone's opinion. But no, as Ted said earlier, our problem's not been necessarily the players; it's having them on the field because they've been injured. I think Ballard, for example, he's a very good technical player. You watch him. I think he's superb, and if we can get him back for next season, either on a permanent deal or a season-long loan, I said, well, we'll have some of that. But unfortunately, that decision's not going to be in our hands, is it? It depends on what Arsenal want to do or not do, as the case might be. But
is he out of contract? No, is he out of contract or not? Has he got a season to go?
No, I don't think so. I think he's still got a contract at Arsenal.
Okay.
But
Has
I
Bart
think
won it for the last 2 seasons?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah.
I think reading between the lines, he's won it again.
I'll be surprised. I mean, he might well have done, but that would surprise me. And I've got nothing against old Bart. I think Murray Wallace would have been the
I do.
Yeah, I thought Murray Wallace was a favourite, to be honest. Yeah.
But
Indeed. And Ted, you've been quiet for 3.5 minutes.
Murray Wallace for me.
Cool.
Yeah, no,
God, that don't happen very often, does it? Ted being quiet.
I was just stunned to hear that George is still as benign as he's always been. But anyway, that's another story. No, Murray Wallace has been the ultimate of consistency all through the season for me, and he's played in 1 or 2 positions, isn't he? And he never lets you down. He's a 7, 8 out of 10 player every game for me. That summed Murray up the other week when he scored in his own net, then went up and put a thumping header in the top corner of the other end. So, Murray Wallace, if he doesn't win Player of the Season this year, then I think it's criminal, personally. But to mention a couple of the others, I had this sort of conversation with someone the other day. Danny Mack's done really well when he's come in, but we was talking about young players at Mill, and I cannot put Danny Mack in front of Billy Mitchell, and this is the reason why. Billy Mitchell's been in the team literally all season. Danny Mack came in sort of a third of the way, maybe, or maybe even a bit more than that into the season, and has made an impact. I'm not doubting that. But Billy Mitchell, I was getting a bit annoyed at the time because I've started hearing some rumblings from people in the crowd about how he get Mitchell off, he's no good. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, have a look at Birmingham on Saturday, and that tells you where we miss Billy Mitchell when he's not in our side, because Billy Mitchell is the legs, and not only that, he's a much more intelligent footballer than people give him credit for. And I'm hoping that Gary Rowett, and the fact that Gary Rowett's picked him 31 times on the spin playing in the team, tells you that this young kid who's come in his first season in the Championship put himself into a position in Millwall where the manager believed he couldn't leave him out until the fact, which I did agree with Gary Rowett. He was perhaps looking a little bit tired, but I'm hoping Billy will come back like it's the beginning of the season on Saturday and plays. But I can't look any further than Billy Mitchell for being Young Player of the Year and being a close second to Murray Wallace, in my opinion. Because for a young lad of 20, 21, who I believe is going to go on to be a Millwall captain, by the way, he'll ride out these things that some people have been saying about him because he's that good, in my opinion. My worry would be, and I genuinely believe this, that Premier clubs might be looking at Billy Mitchell, and they might be looking at Billy Mitchell in front of Danny McNamara, because I personally think Billy Mitchell's got everything that it takes to become a Premier player. It's his first season. He's learning. He'll be a far better player next year than he's been this year, and he's been pretty outstanding in most of the games for us this year. So I think Billy Mitchell deserves a sort of special mention. But I can't knock Murray off the top spot, because I just think Murray Wallace has been so consistent. He's been, I tell you, I liken him to is Peter Frampton, because when Frampton had a season and people was, he's an old donkey and all that sort of, he even admits it himself, he was getting all that. Then the following season he came out and he put a season in like Murray Wallace has, and won Player of the Season himself then, So I think for his consistency, it's got to be Murray Wallace, but Billy Mitchell definitely deserves a thing. I know Jed's on there. Jed's always going to be on there because of the type of player he is, but I don't think he's been at his standard this year that he was last year. If I'm honest, he's level. He's always good, Jed, but I thought he was a better level last year than he's been this year. I don't know why, but that's just how I see it. But he'll always be there because he's a crowd pleaser.
I don't think we've relied on Bart as much this season as we have in seasons gone by either, actually.
No,
he's done marvellous saves, but I think the other seasons he's been, the difference to us getting results. But I think this year we've not relied on him so much. He still pulled off marvellous saves and been a great goalkeeper, but I think the back line have done such a good job this season.
I agree again, George.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I would say when we're talking about the likes of, and Ted's mentioned about Premier clubs looking at possibly Billy Mitchell, Danny Mack, And I mean, even if you take, I mean, I've read today, I mean, because you hear all these stories that apparently West Ham supposedly are looking at Tyler Bury. Well, fine, but and then although Ballard ain't our player, but I think that the advantage that we have, as good as they might be now, and although they could get tempted to go to a Premier League club, the question is, are they going to play? Because if you take, for example, that's right. I mean, if you take someone like Ballard, for example, who, as I said, in my opinion, is a technically good player. If he goes back to Arsenal, well, he will do. But if they turn around and say to him, "No, you're not going out on loan next season. We're going to keep you here." If he ain't in and around playing in the first team, he's just going to start getting a right ache because he don't want to play 2 games a month back in the development squad. And that's what Malumbi had to put up with, didn't he? At Brighton, he got the ump over it all. Although. So
when you think about that, actually, Stan, makes you think. Malumbi, okay, he's had a few good games this season. Where is he now? Is it Swansea? Is that no? West Brom. He's had a couple of games, but I think that probably stunted his career for a good season and a half because it put him back. So
yeah, that's right, and that's the thing, you see. So Billy Mackey or Danny Mack, whatever, if somebody comes in for him, the question is he going to play? And so whilst he's, I mean, they've got plenty of time.
The thing is, Stan, what happens this time? Well, what they tend to do now, more often than not, is you'll find that they buy a player like Billy Mitchell or Danny Mack, and then loan him back, or loan him out to someone else. That tends to be the thing, and that would be, look, we know Billy Mitchell and Danny Mack are both Millwall boys, and they'll love to be playing for Millwall next year and that. But listen, if a Premier League club comes in with the sort of money that Millwall can't turn down, then unfortunately it'll be the same old story. But
I'm not.
I wouldn't like to lose either of them at the moment.
Guys, we are going to be talking coming and goings in the second half of the show. So let's hold that for a moment and listen to Harvey Brown and the Lions Food Hub, and then we can get on to comings and goings in the second half of the show.
First of all, let's hear from Harvey Brown.
Have you heard of the Lions Food Hub? It is now located in the Millwall Community Trust car park. That's beside Millwall's Den in Ballina Road. That Millwall Lioness, Kelly Webster, is involved. Don't forget to help the Lions Food Hub if you can. Thank you.
As Harvey said, they need support, and you can help if you can by making a one-off or a regular monetary donation online at Banquet, that is BANKUET, or on a Saturday you should make donations pre-match at the hub about 50 metres down from the Lions store. Alternatively, you can also contact the team via their Twitter and Facebook sites.
I'm Gary Staff, and I'm back with a No One Likes Us talking team of Ted Robinson, Stan Godwin and George Lampey. So, next up, we're going to pick out the maybe one or two each best and worst games and moments of the season. My discussion points that I've put forward to the team are the unbeaten run of 5 games, the Fulham games. Do we discuss them or do we just dismiss them? Too many draws.
I can't remember them.
Yeah, too many draws. So you look around us, we've had 15 draws this season, and you've got to go down to Preston in 16th place, who have had 16 draws. So they've certainly affected us. And on the flip side of that, you've got the home form. I think I think it's correct that we are top of the league on the home form with the most home wins or points this season, even better than Fulham, etc. So you got.
So we take that all day long, wouldn't we?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly, and just in the last few seasons, our away form has always been our Achilles heel. Maybe not last year because it helped us out, but last few seasons it's always been our Achilles heel. And I think even got to January before we won away 1 or 2 seasons. So, Ted, what do you think? What are your best and worst game/moments of the season?
Well, you mentioned the worst one. I mean, the worst ones, and I don't know why. So every time we ever play them is Fulham. For some reason, we just cannot seem to get going against Fulham. Although at times in both the games against Fulham we did, and it just never happens for us against Fulham. That's about the best way I can describe it. And we seem to, when we come up against better teams, play better, but when we come up against Fulham, they just seem to have some sort of hold over us, and that's probably that. And I think the other worst moment I felt was when we lost at home to Forest. 1-0, grab and sneak one right at the very end, didn't he? Like, that was pretty depressing because I didn't think we played too bad against Forest.
And they were on the back of a bad run as well. That was the middle of the end of the bad run.
Scoring made it horrible, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It did. That was it just sort of hit you right at the last minute like that. And obviously losing to Palace, I never liked losing to Palace, but fair enough, they're quite a decent side these days. But that'll never sit easy with me. So there's a few of me worst, but my best game, I've got to be honest, the best game I think for me this season was when we beat QPR 2-0, because QPR tended to be a bit of a bogey side for us in a sense. I can't remember us ever really getting too much in. I think it was, yeah. And we oh, excuse me. I mean, I regarded them a bit like Fulham. They were good footballing side, and they weren't in bad form at the time, if I remember rightly. But we totally outplayed them from the start to the end, and put in what I thought was the best performance of the season. And it was just a little bit of a shock to me. I wasn't expecting. It was on telly. You're right, because we don't tend to be great on telly, do we? But
No.
Come open that, and people saying to me, "Bloody hell, you played well last night." And I thought, yeah, we was really good against QPR. It was probably the best all-round performance I think we put in all season. And the other game that I loved as one of my high points of this season was beating West Brom 2-0 home, because it's the first time I took my grandchildren down to Millwall. So it couldn't have been any better to be in a good atmosphere like that, and for us to win 2-0, and both the goals were down the end where we sit. So they loved every minute of it. So, but talking about West Brom, you think to yourself, if you was a West Brom fan, have you got anything to moan about Millwall? If I was a West Brom fan, I'd be absolutely choked about the way this season's gone. But that's another story. But that's my worst games and my best games, I think.
Brilliant. George?
Yeah, well, and I was just thinking about the Fulham, when they were at our place, what did they beat us? 2-1, didn't they, if I remember right?
Yeah.
They could have scored an hatful, couldn't they? But when we went there and they beat us 3-0, but we had chances all through.
We could have been 2-0 up. We could have been comfortably 2-0 up before they scored.
Yeah. So, it was a funny games we had against Fulham this year, considering they're the outstanding team.
George, I think that's why it was even more galling for me, that second one, because we deserved to lose 3-0 at home in the first one. But the second one, as you quite rightly, Gary was saying, we was in the game, and yet we lost 3-0. And you think, it's Fulham. What is it with Fulham,
No. I think the Huddersfield game was a great football match. I enjoyed that quite a lot. And Afobe's goals were great. I'm not always Afobe's biggest fan, as people will know, but I thought he scored a couple of cracking goals there. I think the game, I don't know about my worst game, but I think the game that has hurt us the most may well turn out to be the Swansea game of only recently. Because not only did they actually play us off the park like there was no tomorrow, but I think that's come round to bite us in the backside, that one, isn't it, really? So, it was a bad game for us in many respects.
No, I can't disagree. I'll pop mine in before I go to Stan. I was going to say my ones were the Forest and the Swansea game, as mentioned by George there. And my best two would be the West Brom, and I actually really enjoyed the Palace game. I know we lost, but I thought we were outclassing them we outclassed out half a game. We outclassed a Premier League team, and I've listened to the commentary at half time, and everyone was saying Millwall were thoroughly deserving of that, and it was just a shame how it went in the end. And if only, I think it was Burry's studs were a millimetre longer, or it might be Ojo's studs were a millimetre longer, we might have got something out of that game. But and I say that probably was the worst moment, because we could have got something out of that game. So they were my ones. And Stan, over to you, mate.
Well, it's interesting. If you take the Fulham game, right? I mean, especially the game when we played them at the beginning of the season at home. I mean, they were just I mean, one of the goals they scored, they went from their area to our area with 3 passes, and the ball never left the ground, and they scored, right? They were, and you watch that and you think to yourself, they were superb, but I agree with Ted. I was at Craven Cottage in the last game, and although we lost the game 3-0, we definitely, in comparison, right? If you compared the both games, we definitely deserved something out of it, but we didn't. But it's like narrow margins or small margins and whatever. The difference is they get the chance and they bury it, and we get the chance and we don't do it, and that's that's what
They're
happened
the quality
against
team,
Palace.
They're the quality team
But
in this division.
well, they are a quality team, yeah. But what I'm saying is, But I tell you something, right? That kid Carvalho, right? When I watched him that night, well, I didn't know it, but my mate's boy said to me, I said to him, "Who's that bloke down there?" Oh, he said, he told me, he said he's English. I thought to myself, well, name like Carvalho, how can he be English, right? Anyway, I looked him up, right? And he was born, he was like 18 when he played that night, or 17 when he played against us. They reckon up until this season, he played only 7 senior games for Fulham. They signed him from some local team because he lived in Balham, right? And he's gone from that to that, and he's going to Liverpool come the end of the season. Now he's played for England, and he can play because he was born in Lisbon, and he was training at Benfica until he was about 8 or 9, until he come over here. And you watch him, and you think, and that's unheard of. And you think, well, why is it they can find this sort of player and we can't? They got him from some sort of local league team, But he was superb that night, and that they all was. And you just and if you look right, and every time we played for them, apart from when we lost the last time, when we played them, I remember the 4-0 hammering they gave us, and that was, if that wasn't bad enough. That was the worst game I've ever seen. We were embarrassing. We couldn't get the ball. When we got it, we just kept giving it away. Although we could have scored, but we didn't. But when they had the opportunity, they did. Right? The West Brom game, it was strange, really, because watching West Brom in the first half of that game, it reminded me of how we played under Harris. Right, but the only difference was because they signed Andy Carroll, and all they kept doing was knocking it long for him to get hold the end of, right? And it's exactly what we used to do, right? The only difference was my mate was sitting next to me, and the way they were going in for the ball, my mate said to me after about 5 minutes, he said, we'd be lucky if we still got 22 players on the pitch at half time. He said, because, West Brom were going, they were just knocking people out of the way, weren't they? But then the second half come, and I even forgot what his name was on. Andy Carroll was on the field in the second half, and we completely controlled the game and won the game. But I looked at him in the first half, West Brom, and because all the West Brom fans were going balmy for 2 reasons, right? One, that the fact that they'd lost, and they'd had 18 months of what's his name, Pulis, and his sort of football. Right? And because West Brom always been a good footballing team, and that was, they were going mental over what they was being played. Needless to say, their manager got the sack a couple of days later. But anyway, so that was a good game. The QPR game was an excellent game, and it was one, I can't remember. It's one game we played. It was a night game. This particular night, it might have been it, but we was absolutely superb. Swansea, well, I watched Swansea in the second half, and well, even in the first half, right? And they just passed us off the park. And because what makes me laugh, right? Some bloke was saying, well, they keep passing the ball, he said, but they're not going nowhere. I said, look, they don't come down here to entertain us. What they're doing, why I'm passing the ball round, we're running round after it. We're getting the ump because we can't get hold of the ball. The players get frustrated. Our crowd are getting on their back, and they're laughing. And they're just killing the game. It's, game management. That's what it is. And it was different, superb they was that night. And that is the difference. That is the difference. At this level, if you keep giving the ball away, you get punished.
But one comment I will make, though, Stan, against that, yes, they were superb against us. But where has that been all season? They're 14th.
Well, no, that's absolutely right. Now, that's absolutely right. I mean, I thought originally that the manager they got now, because I'd forgotten all about Cooper, but I thought the manager they got now had only just sort of taken up. But I don't know what they've been doing. But it all come together that night. And this is what I'm saying, at this level in the Championship, it's not just you watch them. I watch Quest every week on Saturday. These teams don't give the ball away, and that's the difference. If you got the ball, don't matter how good the opposition are, if they can't get the ball, they ain't going to do you no harm. You keep giving it to them, they destroy them in the end. Yeah, that's why I get frustrated.
But this is where we start arguing, because there's a difference between keeping the ball and a difference between keeping the ball and doing something with it. Some sides like Swansea, most of this season, Swansea ain't done sod all with the ball. They've kept it and kept it and give it away and lost the game. You got to have purpose in your play in what you do, and that's possibly one thing everybody directs at Rowett. He's not quite, he's a bit negative with what he does, and I say, me, Stan. It doesn't matter. You said just then before all that Fulham took 3 passes and scored a goal. So it doesn't matter if you keep the ball in your own half for 5 minutes, knocking it around. If you lose it, what the idea is, you want to get the ball up the other end at some point or the other and score. So if you can take 3, that's the way to do it. But Swansea's football would bore the pants off me if I was watching it week in, week out, because there was not enough positivity out of it, although they controlled the game, and I'm the first to admit that.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I understand that, Ted. If you're going to do that, you've got to have an end product. I don't have an eye. We should move the ball quicker, right? I mean, I don't understand, for example, why it is when we get a corner against us, we bring everybody back. I don't understand why we do that. Because you didn't have them to come into our half, didn't you? Every one of their players are in our half. I mean, it was one game.
Especially if we've got someone like, I was going to say, especially if we've got someone like Burke with the pace that he's got, I'll just leave him on the halfway line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then if you move it out and he's on it.
If you move 2 men up there, they've got to have 3 men back. They're not in your box, are they?
Exactly. I agree.
But you see, sometimes when you watch somebody, I mean, when we played Derby at our place, I mean, I think they were superb, right? But when there was time, I said this to Jules, there was times when they was knocking the ball around in midfield, right? And people were saying, well, what are they doing that for? Well, I know what they were doing. What they were trying to do was get our back 4 shifted. So they then get the spaces and whatever. And on one occasion, they did precisely that. They played the ball through, and unfortunately for us, and unfortunately for them, their forward didn't read it. But had he read it, we'd have been 1-0 down. And that's what they do. They move it about.
Lost 1-0. We only lost 1-0, Stan, and it was a jammy goal. And
what's that?
When we played Swansea, we only lost 1. Was it 1-0? We only lost 1-0, wasn't it? And it was a jammy goal. And what was the more frustrating thing? They got their goal and then they made it even worse. They just didn't. They didn't even let us have anyone near it. They just thought, right, let's take it back a couple of paces.
Yeah, but that's what they would call game management.
Yeah,
and I did it. And their fans ain't moaning. Their fans ain't moaning. They got the 3
Stan,
points.
The only thing I disagree with you on, Stan, the only thing I disagree with you is when you turn around and say things like, when we've got the ball, they can't score. That is not the idea of having the football. The idea of having the football is you scoring.
Well, and, absolutely,
it's not a matter of keeping the ball to stop the opposition from scoring. That's what I'm saying. There's plenty of teams, and I've said this time and time again. I remember playing Norwich, and they had 75% possession of the football, and we beat them 4-0. What is the point of having a football for 75% of the game, and you're going to lose 4-0? It's just nonsense.
Yeah, but Ted, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. But coming back to Norwich, and you were there, and I wasn't. I assume you were there. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, Ted, or probably a little bit more before we went into lockdown. We got 5 minutes to go, and we're 3-2 up against Norwich at their place, and we end up losing the game 4-3 because all we're doing is lumping the ball out. And it's coming straight back.
You're showing your true colours now, Stanley.
Oh, he's a real Millwall fan, isn't he?
Right, on that bleeping
Gal, But before we go any further, Gal,
Go
have I won the bet? I did say before we kicked off this programme, I'll get Stan to swear at some point.
Yeah, you did. You haven't mentioned.
Well, I agree with-
You haven't
but I
mentioned
agree.
a number 4 yet, but you will get to that. I saw at some point. I think. Ted.
But I mean, but I do agree with you, Ted. If you got the ball, I don't just say the point I'm saying is, all right. What the point I'm making is this: if you got the ball, you know, and it don't matter. I mean, you got to do something with the ball. I'm not. I mean, you know, we want to.
Your passing's got to be accurate.
No
I
arguments
know
about that.
It's got to be.
Yeah. But I mean, you know,
But you
we've
do
actually
like Stan. You like a passing game, don't you? You like all the intricate passing, and I'm not sure, if I'm really honest, that the crowd at the Den like that football.
No,
they may not. But but you see, but the point I make is this, Jules. Right. What I'm saying is, right. Okay, you say I like it, and which is true. I do. I don't make no secret of that fact. But the point is, but what I'm saying is that if you look now, if you look at the Championship, the First Division, and the Second Division, they're all playing that sort of football. So what I'm getting at is, if, for example, we get a new manager coming at some point, because we will do, Gary Rowett will leave for whatever reason, whenever. But if we get a manager coming, right, and he's a manager that plays that sort of football, he'll play it. And so the supporters are going to have to get their head around that. They're going to have to get their head around it.
There's a slight difference, and I was before we come on here, I was talking to Gary about this. That when you talk about like hoofballs, you say that's knocking a long ball up with a hopeful pass, right?
Yeah.
When you watch the likes of Man United and sorry, not Man United. Shit. Oh, sorry about that. Man City. I knew I'd make myself swear when I said that.
Yeah.
But no, when you watch Man City or Liverpool or all that, they don't always do small passes. They're not averse to knocking a long ball, but what the difference is, their long ball goes from foot to foot. And what I'm saying is you have to mix the whole game up. The thing that you're talking about is passing has to be accurate. And it doesn't matter whether it's a 60 metre pass or a 5 metre pass. It has to be accurate.
Yeah. I mean, one of the greatest midfield players that this country's ever produced, right, was Glenn Hoddle. And Glenn Hoddle could pass a ball 40 yards from one side of the pitch to the other. Nobody would ever say that Glenn Hoddle was a long ball man. He wasn't, because it was a pass, and that's what he did. I mean, that's what he did. You know, I mean, I remember when I was a kid. Watching Johnny Haynes down at Millwall, and he was coming at the end then, and he put one ball from one side of the field to the other. So a bloke called Les Barrett, and he just landed in front of his feet. He never had to move. It was there. Now then, them sort of players are not long ball players. They knew how to pass a football. No one's going to argue with that.
He must have been using a cannon in them days with a weight of footballs to get it from one side of the pitch to the other.
But you know what I'm saying?
In the mud and that. You sure, Stan? You're right, it must have been this.
He's making it up, isn't he? He's making it up.
Right, guys. Let's draw a line under that one for a minute. And I'll just talk quickly, and I mean quickly, about comings and goings at the end of the season. So personally, I think I'd like to keep Jed, but I don't think we're going to. I think we will keep Bennick. And I do hopeful, because of things I've seen and heard, I think we will have Ballard next season. And the fact that he's gone to away games when he's not playing and been in with the Millwall crowd, I think he's bought into the Millwall ethic. Players I'd like to come in, there's only one. He's been relegated already, and that's John Swift, because I think he would be massive for our club. Over to you, Ted.
I agree with you, John Swift. I'll give you that one. Although he's not been relegated because he's with Reading, hasn't he?
Has he been? No, he ain't been relegated. Sorry, I'll stand that back.
Yeah, no, he's still at Reading, isn't he? But I John Swift, I would have. But I've had hopes with Luke Freeman before he got injured, but that's another story. I would love to see Ballard back. I think he fits our team perfectly, and as I think it was Stan was saying, or George, but technically I think he's very good. I think the club suits him. I think he loves it here. You can see the reactions on his face. I would try and move Evan and I Walter to get him back on loan for a season. Jed, bless him, I've already resigned myself that he's going. He goes with my blessing if that's what he wants to do. I'm not one that thinks it's the end of the world if Jed Wallace leaves, because I think the last few games have proved that. And it may just be the right time for Jed to go. And he's the one that makes that decision himself anyway. If he decides to stay, lovely. We've got a real good footballer that's going to stay. But, it seems to me, and it has done all season, that he wants to go. So, unfortunately, I think he'll be gone. I, for one, wouldn't mind Benik Afobe back, definitely. I wouldn't mind Ojo signing for us. If we lose him Mahoney, I think there's room for Ojo Shaggy Ojo in the squad. I've seen enough little bits and pieces of him to think myself we could have a player there. He certainly impressed me a bit more than Mahoney has done this season. Let's put it that way. So I think that hopefully that might be a chance of that happening. Who knows who else? John Swift is a very good shout, by the way, Gary. I think John Swift is an excellent player. And I would dearly love to see him in here. And he's the type of player that I think, to improve this squad, this is what I hoped Luke Freeman would do. That's someone that could sit in there and see them killer passes. Because I get fed up of watching Bradshaw, Burke, Afobe making these runs and not getting the ball. And, running off the back four of whoever they're playing against into the space, and the ball never comes. If you, honestly and truthfully, if you watch every football match that we've played, if you could watch it on a wide screen, see the amount of runs them guys go and they're pointing for it and they never get the ball. It can be a bit soul destroying. So it's fair play to them. They keep going. Burke's the other one, by the way. I would have Burke tomorrow if
I think
if he was up for grabs.
I think sometimes it's the right club. I think he's gone to the end of his time at Sheffield United, and sometimes when a manager moves on, he was the right player for Chris Wilder at the time. He was, but now we move on. George?
Well, we've got quite a few coming to the end of their contracts, haven't we? Is Bradshaw at the end of his contract?
Oh,
no, I think he's got another year, isn't he?
Oh,
well, I think he is, but I think he's indicated, or I think the club have said that they want to keep him.
I think he's got an extension.
Keith Bell's at the end. Is Keith Bell at the end of his contract?
Yeah, he is. So's George Evans. So's Pearce. A few.
But like Ted said, I'm pretty sure Jed will go. I'm not a Afobe fan. I never have been. I would never knock him. I think he puts in the full stint every time he plays for us. I don't think he gets the greatest service in the world, but I think that applies to all of our forwards, as Ted was saying. I'd have OJ back. I'm not sure we'll get Ballard, but I think he has really bought into our football club, the way we play and everything. But whether we'll get him again, I'm not sure. What about the boy Lovelace? Will he stay with us, do you think?
Interesting one, isn't it?
Well, I think they've tried their hardest to keep him in what they've done with him. I that's all I could say. I don't know what more Millwall Football Club as a club could do or could have done to give the boy the taste of wanting to be here next season. It's like anything, George. Like I say, if the big boys come in, it's very difficult. It's hard enough keeping your first team players, let alone a young lad who's in the thingy. There is one, I forgot one that I did mean to mention, Gal, sorry. But George reminded me with Cliftonville coming up, I'd let him go and I'd go and get Jason Malumbi if he wanted to come back down here.
But as that ship sailed, we've got others, haven't we? We've got others. And to be honest, I'm sure there's other... I'm sure there's others in the pipeline. I've read this Anderson kid at Bristol Rovers who looks really good. Yeah. Luke McCormack at Wimbledon's another one that, and Louis Sibley from Derby. If we was to get two of them free again, I'd be over the moon.
I'd like to, if it comes to forwards, I'd like us to go for more pacey, young forwards, I think, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, though, we've got Alafi coming back next season. Got Alafi coming back. You've got the forgotten man. I don't know if Romeo's contract's at the end of the season, if he's going to come back or not. You've got a few floating around. Who's the kid up in Scotland? Is it Brown? He's there. And you've got the centre-back who's at Leyton Orient. You've got a couple who's on loan down at Bromley, haven't you? There's Dan Moss, the guy who was at Yeovil for a while, and I forget where he's gone now. Mitchell will come back, I believe, from Leyton Orient. That may well be to cover... Ballard.
If Ballard's not there. There's the other one, though. What's his name? Hayden Muller.
Yeah.
He went up to Scotland and come back. There's a few youngsters floating around that will obviously some of them will filter their way into the side, that's a given, you know.
Where's
but
Muller? Muller's at
you know,
Orient. Is he at Orient?
Yeah, Muller's at Orient.
Yeah.
No, Mitchell's at Orient. Alex Mitchell's at Orient, isn't he?
Oh, right.
Yeah. Muller went up to St Johnston or somewhere like that, didn't he? And but I mean, as for Romeo, he's not even making the Portsmouth side at the moment, is he? Whether that's them trying to get, but I mean, that boat's gone. I think Romeo just needs to leave. If I'm honest, you know, he's not going to get in front of Danny Mack if he comes back. That's for sure. So but there's always. They will have had targets, I'm sure they have. Now we've got Alex Aldridge back. I'm sure they've planned already for, you know, they know more about the people that are out of contract and, you know, the possibilities of who might come to here and all that sort of stuff than we ever do.
If we've got lots of players who are going to be out of contract or leaving, then that should free up sort of money for fresh players to come in, hopefully.
Yeah, as we've mentioned, George, you know, we mentioned players, haven't we? Like Pierce, he's going, you know, bless him, a lovely guy, done us a turn, but he's time for him to go. Mahoney, same thing, hasn't worked, he'll be gone. You know, there's always, every season, there's players like that. I mean, George Evans is the one. Someone said George Evans' contract's up. I mean, would you give him another contract?
No,
I'm not sure that I'd. Well, I'm not sure he's done enough to warrant one. If I'm honest, you know, and again, and I'm not being devil's advocate here, but it does all depend on not George. It always depends on George. Gary Rowett being here next season, obviously, what they're going to do.
Well, that's right.
So,
no, that's right. I mean, I think that. I mean, I think with Lovelace, right? You know, I mean, I haven't seen that much of him, but I mean, the thing that concerned me, and he says my head in. I mean, I remember he come on in one game. He played 5 minutes, if that. Right, which not is his fault. And the next thing I know, we're all talking. There's people saying, "Oh, he's going to be on his way," and I'm thinking, "Hang on a minute. He's only been on the field 5 minutes. Literally 5 minutes he was on the field, and straight away." You know, the cynics that come in and they were going to sell him and whatever and all that lark. I mean, I can't do with that sort of thinking. But
but it's not beyond the football club to put its youngster on in the window. You know, I know
but
you
it
might
is,
not
yeah.
think
Well,
like that.
they might, but they might, But then you see, but then that begs the question: if they're going to be doing that, then why bother developing them if you're only going to develop them just for transfer fodder? Well, then why bother? That's smart. But anyway, we ain't going to get. I'm not going to get into that.
Stan, hold on. Let's just finish this little bit. When they're in academies like that, he's not actually signed a professional contract as such. He's too young.
That's right. Yeah.
So
that's right.
So he can walk away. He's not. You know what I mean? And don't think that these clubs will come and look at him just because he's played in the first team. They would have been looking and watching him in the youth team and the under-23 team.
Yeah.
If he's as good a player as he appears to be to get himself into the first team, there'd be other clubs noting that and looking at him anyway.
The danger always is, and the one that springs to mind was that David Amu. I mean, I remember Andy Ambler saying that when he eventually left us to go to Liverpool, he said and all I ever knew about David, I never see him play, but I used to read about him in the programme playing. But he said, was in there, he done this and done that, and you think, oh, he's got to be a bit of a good one. And now I remember Ambler saying when he went, he said, we see his parents when he signed for the club, for Millwall. He said, we never see him no more until Liverpool come sniffing round, and all of a sudden Liverpool was the future for him. Off he goes, and he didn't last up there, and he ended. I mean, he was at Bury, I think, at one point, and other places.
Just Google him, Stan. Liverpool. Milton, just Google him. Actually, he went to Liverpool. He went out on loan to Milton Keynes, Hull City, and Bury while he was there. Then he had a season at Preston, season at Tranmere, season at Carlisle, Partick Thistle, Cambridge, and he's currently still playing for Port Vale.
Yeah. Oh, no, the starting career, is it? But I mean, so therefore the danger. I mean, I think that, Keith and Bell's contract's up. I'm not sure whether, what's his name is, George, is it Murphy you said, Ted, or?
George Evans.
Evans, right? I don't know what I was thinking of the actor. But anyway, George Evans, I don't know about him.
Someone said his contract was up. I don't know if it is, but someone said it was.
Wallace, Jed Wallace, is in my opinion, he's gone. And the only thing that would keep him there at Millwall is if we make the Premier League. And if we don't make the Premier League, he's gone. And wherever he goes, and and like you said, well, wish he well. and I ain't going to get in. He'll go where the contracts, which is what he wants, and that suits him. And that's up to him. And
yeah, he's been a good servant to our club.
Yeah, that's right. So I mean, if he ends up signing for West Ham, for arguments, and not that I can see it, but if he did, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that and get excited over that.
It's just be a shame that if he's, as it appears, that he's unfit for Saturday at this moment in time. It means he won't get to play in front of us to say goodbye. That would be gutting, in my opinion. But
then he might come out on the pitch at some point, mightn't he?
Well, here's the thing: if he sticks him on the bench and we've won 6-0, for example, like we're talking about earlier, he might bring him on for the last minute. You know what I mean? Just to say goodbye.
I mean, I'm interested to know. I mean, on the pitch, and I mean, presumably on the pitch Saturday, then there won't be no presentation to the players then.
Oh, I've heard rumours there might be.
Ah, well, okay. Well, that'd be interesting to see. But if that happens, then I think you'll see him. But anyway, we'll wait and see. But I think, let me just find out quickly. The guy that Ted mentioned, the guy who's at Bristol Rovers. I mean, I see it in the South London. He was referred to as some form of Maradona or something by somebody.
But he's for Newcastle, though, and we'd have to get him off Newcastle.
He's not going to Bristol Rovers.
No, you'd only get him on a season loan, I think, Joe.
Yeah. Ballard, if we can get him back on a permanent deal, fine. But if not, get a season-long loan. But that would depend on what Arsenal want, because they might not want to send him out on loan, or they might turn around and say you can go out on loan, but you can go somewhere. You'll have to go somewhere else. But so Afobe, if we can keep him, Burke, if we can keep him. The other bloke that we signed with Burke at the time, I mean, he's not had the best of fortune since he's been here. So I don't want to see a little bit more of him if I can before I start making decisions about him. But no, I think Conor Mahoney's going. Pearce is going to go. I mean, he indicated to us that I think he's said he's 34 and he wants to carry on playing. And he realises, I mean, he wasn't upset about it. He didn't get excited. He said that he's unlikely to do that because of his age. Then he wants a couple more years left playing, and then he wants to go into coaching and management. And so I think he'll be gone, and he didn't seem to be too upset about all that. And that's it. I mean, what about the goalkeeper Long? Is he going to? I mean, when he's played, I think he's done well. So I think we need to keep him. So no, I mean, and it's like everything else is. It's like, as Ted said, you got this Alec Aldrich back. Let's hope that we have a better return in the transfer window in the summer than we had in the winter. Because from our point, it was a bloody nightmare, wasn't it?
It definitely was.
I mean, but in saying that, I mean, I all know what. I mean, we turn around and say, well, we want this player and we want that player. Well, that's okay, but then you've got to get them. And sometimes these clubs are not going to sell them to you.
Exactly.
Or even loan them to you.
And on that note, we're going to listen to Bethany Warren at Sands United. But that was brilliant, guys. Really enjoyed that. And next up, we'll be talking to Paul Odin, Jeff Burnage talking Lionesses, and then we'll be talking about the next couple of games, the most important games of our season. But as I say, let's listen to Bethany Warren and Sands United.
We know that some men can struggle to talk about how they're feeling after the death of a baby. We hope that by building trust and a common bond, by playing together as a team, many more will be able to break their silence about baby loss and help others to do the same. Sands United FC has already saved the lives of men left feeling like they had no one to turn to in their grief. Are you a father who has lost a child? Talk to Sands United. They will help. Contact them on sufclondon@gmail.com. That's sufclondon@gmail.com. They will help.
I'm Gary Staff, and I'm back with the No One Likes a Talking team of Ted Robinson, Stan Godwin and George Lampey. Before we discuss what's up next for the first team, we're going to hear from Paul Odin talking Romans and Pride and Jeff Burnage talking Lionesses.
Hello, Paul. How's it going with the Romans?
Both teams were in action on Sunday just gone. Romans played at home at St Paul's in the afternoon against Soho FC. In true style, which we seem to be in a bit of a habit of at the moment, we did concede quite early on. Within about 10-15 minutes, we were 1-0 down. A very bad defensive mistake, and to be fair, the striker took it quite well. We just kept playing our game low, so we kept playing it out from the back. St Paul's really suits our playing style. It's a nice large pitch, obviously with a 4G, very flat surface. And we just kept playing our game. We didn't panic. You could definitely tell that it was a game that we hadn't played in a few weeks with the fitness levels, but we still pushed on quite aggressively. And we went into half-time 2-1 up, and then managed to score another 2 in the second half to make it 4-1. So really good result for the Romans.
That's a great comeback from going behind early on. What about the Pride?
The Pride team travelled over to West London to face Titans. Despite all their efforts, they unfortunately lost 3-2 in the end. Every week, though, they're improving. They're playing the right way. They're going to be a really strong team next season. They're fighting hard every week. They've got a good group of players there. They're playing in the right way. And Andy's done a really good job at getting them to the level that they are now.
There is a clear improvement there. Andy is doing really well. What's happening this weekend?
The Romans team are away to Stokey FC, playing over at Walthamstow. Stokey FC are very big physical side. They're not one to go down lightly. It will be a very good game. Unfortunately, we're playing on grass, which is a bit of a pain. But we'll go over there. We've had some bad experiences over in Walthamstow previously, but we're really confident after the weekend's victory that we can bring back the 3 points.
Well, fingers crossed you do bring back those 3 points. Beyond this weekend, what's happening?
The league's been split, so there's 4 teams in what would be the top half, 4 teams in the lower half. Obviously, we've played our first one, which leaves us playing Phoenix and Stonewall FC, and obviously after Stokey this weekend. And they're all going to be very difficult games. They're really competitive teams. Stonewall beat us at the start of the season, so we are after them, and they are challenging for the top spot. The Phoenix game, we will be playing that, and we've been invited to play that at the Den on the 18th of May. Probably be an 8 o'clock kickoff. Really kind of Millwall to let us play at the Den. We're really looking forward to that. And so that's the 18th of May at the Den, which is a Wednesday night.
That's great playing your final fixture at the Den. Let's hope we will see you crowned as league champions. Lastly, Paul, a prediction for the Millwall-Peterborough game.
Prediction for Millwall-Peterborough. It was nice to nick a point away to Birmingham. I think Millwall are going to come out fighting it. We were lucky enough to get invited down to watch the game a couple of weeks ago on Easter Monday. That was a nice 3 points. So I'm going to say a convincing 2-0 to Millwall.
Thanks, Paul. We will look out for your results for the run-in.
This is Jeff Berners reporting for Millwall Lionesses. The Lionesses finished the season in the London and South East Women's Regional League in mid-table after a disappointing 5-0 defeat at Dartford on Sunday. They were still depleted and also devastated by their 120th minute 2-1 defeat to the same opponents in the League Cup semi-final. So manager Jack Wheeler was able to start with 3 16-year-olds to gain senior experience looking to the future. Next season will again have promotion to the National League as the prime target. Left-back Millie Connell has had a great season and got forward repeatedly in this game, and Poppy Payne was again good under pressure in the centre of defence. Sophie Chapman shone in centre mid, while Millie Penfold did well out of position at right midfield. Young centre forward Frances Kerr impressed in only her 7th appearance, and midfielder Sherin Alimi was given her first start after 4 appearances as a sub. Dartford exploited several defensive mistakes brilliantly and finished an excellent second in their league and will again be a threat next season. The Lionesses under-18s now look forward to their League Cup final against good rivals London City Lionesses. More of that nearer the day.
Thanks, Jeff. So, next up for the Lions is Peterborough. We've sort of touched on it earlier in the game. It's a must-win. Must win. I personally think we're going to go out and will be our best performance of the season. I think with the crowd behind us, I mean, we've got nothing to play for. We've got everything to play for. I mean, we're just going to look. You just got to let the shackles off, go for it, play the best you can, and look. Let's just not worry about the defensive part of our game, which we see every week. Just go out there and try and score as many as we can to try and close that goal difference. I'm not going to. I'm going to say 2-0, but I'd like it to be a hell of a lot more. I'll start with you, George, on that one.
Well, yeah, I think we're all looking forward to this. I mean, this is a do or die for us, and we can't afford no slip-ups. Draws are no good. Obviously, defeats are disaster. Yeah, I know Gary Rowett gets a little bit of stick for, not being gun-ho. Well, I think this is maybe one occasion when he needs to be. And I think we just either go for this or, to sit back would just be nonsense. So I think with a full house, let's go for it and have a real go. So I'm hoping we're going to beat them about 3-0, actually.
Cool. Stan?
Well, yeah. I mean, the only thing is, I mean, what George has said. We don't go. We go for the game and all that. So I don't have an argument with that. I mean, the only problem is what happens tomorrow. Because as I say, we're hoping that Sheffield United get beat. But all I'm saying is, if they get, they go out and they turn QPR either 4-0 or whatever it is. Saturday is to an extent becomes a non-event, even if we win the game, right? In that sense, but I mean, I think that we will. I think Peterborough come out and they're just going to, they're now relegated. It's now confirmed and whatever, so they're not under any sort of pressure. So they're going to want to sort of put on a performance, and it's up to us to do the job. And if we're in the position where, it's gone the right way Friday night or tomorrow night for us on Saturday, there is no excuse, absolutely no excuse. We've got to go out and win the game. And if you like, and I agree with George, we've got to throw caution to the wind. We don't go balmy. We don't want to get caught on the off, but no. But as I say, it might well be to some extent a bit of a non-event Saturday if it's gone the wrong way for us tomorrow night.
But as mentioned,
in terms of goal difference.
Yeah, if they only win 1-0 or by one goal.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we go out and put 5 or 6 past them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right. But what I'm saying is, if they go and score 4 goals, Sheffield United, for argument's sake,
it's out of the question. Yeah,
that's right. That's what I'm saying. But
yeah,
but even if that's the case, right, I still want us to go and win the game on Saturday. I want us to win at home on the last game.
Agreed.
And and it'll either happen or it won't happen. That's my view.
And Ted,
so I think we'll win.
Well, whatever happens tomorrow night, I don't care. It will be an event because it's our last game of the season that's been very good. So I'm going to upset Stan again here. I want Gary Rowett to go out with a 4-4-2. I'd have Mason Bennett wide left. I'd have Ollie Burke wide right. I'd have Afobe and Bradshaw down the middle. I'd bring Billy Mitchell back in for Clifton Velde with Saville. And I'd have McNamara, Sean Hutchinson, Jake Cooper, and Murray Wallace at the back. And I would say to that side, get out there. I want you pressing up their backsides as soon as they try to get the ball out of their half. I want us to overwhelm them. I want us to have shots raining in from all over the place. Let's go out, not only entertain the team, but let's go out and see if we can actually make a difference with our goal difference here. Let's put this side under so much pressure that they don't want to play. And, you've got the crowd out there that are going to back you all the way. And that's what I think we need to do. I wouldn't... I think, in my opinion, with Ballard being declared unfit, that's made my mind up. We haven't got Scott Malone. If we still had Scott Malone, then, yeah, you can still have the 2 wing-backs bombing on. Well, Murray, with all the best will in the world... I would rather him playing as a natural left back than as a wing back, and having someone like George Evans sitting in the middle as a back 3, especially when we need to win. And not only that, we need to win well, which is could help us. So I'll be going for it for the word go myself, and I would say I meant to mention him earlier, Gary. Sorry, I've mentioned him in my team, but the guy that I think would have made a big difference to us this year, if we could have only kept him fit for longer, is Mason Bennett, because he never fails to impress me when he's on the pitch. He really doesn't. He came on against Birmingham and made a difference. He actually sort of turned the game around a bit. But the guy, he brings something different to us when he's playing. And, I'm not sure how fit he is. There'd be one or two ways I would look at it. You could either start with Tyler Bury as a winger and, bring Mason Bennett on at some point maybe. But whatever ways, I would go with a 4-4-2 and just get at Peterborough from the word go, get the crowd buzzing. If we get an early goal, who knows? It could spur us on to that sort of 5-0 victory that we're all dreaming about, So that's what I would do anyway on Saturday. And it will be an event because it's the last game of the season, a full house. And I'm over the moon, whatever happens on Saturday, because I think it's been a successful season.
Agreed.
And last time we had supporters in the North Stand, we won 5-0.
There you go.
Yeah, it was against Oldham. Was it not Oldham?
That's right,
Was it Oldham?
yeah,
Yeah, that 5-0. Yeah,
Yeah, 2001 that was.
So let's
Paul
hope
Moody scored that trick,
okay, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I've just read, just to throw it in, Tony Mowbray set to leave Blackburn in the summer.
Oh, so Mowbray and Warburton.
Somebody texted me to say about Warburton, and then they also said that Mowbray and
That's
his
very
contract's run out.
strange timing.
Well,
that's
his
very strange timing for me.
Because for a club that's doing so well,
Yeah. Well, according to him, his contract's run out, and the club have not come to him to renew it.
Interesting.
He said he's had no conversation, so therefore his view is that he's on his way out.
Very
right.
strange.
Well, let's move on to the last one, Bournemouth. Another good crowd going down there. Let's just hope it's something to play for. I'm hoping that Bournemouth are already there by then, and I know it's in front of their home fans, and like we're saying, they probably want to go out on a high, but maybe they're on the beach. Maybe they've gone out and had their party the night before. They've all been promoted, and we can go and nick it 1-0.
It'll be another 5-0 victory to us, Gary, and we'll be in the playoffs.
They won't have far to go if they go to the beach, will they?
No, exactly. So I'm hoping for a nice victory down there. But look, as Ted said all the way through this, we've just got to win our last two games and hope a few things go our way. So, Ted, we'll start with you on this one then.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bournemouth's obviously, I see them as a bit of a slightly different kettle of fish to Peterborough. For starters, we're away from home. But I haven't been that impressed with Bournemouth recently, what I've seen of them. But they have got good players. The guy Anthony up front with Solanke is always going to be threats, if you know what I mean. But for some reason,
come back as well. The one from Swansea, the Welsh guy. Kiefer Moore. Yeah, Kiefer Moore's back as well.
Oh,
Kiefer Moore, no, he's at Cardiff, isn't he? Kiefer Moore. No, I'll tell you who's playing for him at the moment. Is it Jamal Lowe?
That's it.
Jamal Lowe, is it?
My team's mixed up. Yeah.
Jamal Lowe's the one playing. Yeah. No, but they seem to. I don't know whether the pressure's got to them a little bit or what, but they seem to have struggled the last few weeks. Although they was quite impressive when they played us. But look, if we're in the situation where we've got to win, we're still to give ourselves a chance. We've got to go there and win. I don't think we can go as gung-ho as I was saying that I wanted us to go on Saturday. I think he'll have to be a little bit more conservative with that, especially away to Bournemouth. But having said that, in the same breath, we've got to win. So who knows? It might well be that if it's worked on this Saturday, let's try it again the following Saturday and just take the game to Bournemouth and rattle them. Because, and I remember we said somewhere earlier in the show, George was saying about, or Bournemouth for last game, they might have something to play for. I think that would actually work in our favour if they've got something to play for, because they'd be as pressurised as, or more pressurised, I think, than us, because we'll have nothing to lose, as we haven't in these next two games, really, because we're the outsiders of the whole thing of getting into the playoffs, really. I think it would still be in our favour if Bournemouth have to do something on that final game. And we also obviously have to win to give ourselves any chance. So I'd feel quite confident going to Bournemouth, to be quite honest.
I mean, I personally think that I mean, it's just my opinion, but I think that by the time we get to play Bournemouth, I mean, I'll be very surprised. I mean, I think they'll know whether they're in up. I mean, they could well go up this week, depending on how it pans out, obviously. But it may. So I mean, I think Fulham are going to win the title. I don't think Bournemouth will. And if they're secured in the knowledge that they're going to go up next season, and it won't matter what the result is in that sense against us because it won't change nothing. Then we might I think it'd be a little bit more easier personally. But I mean, I agree with you, Ted.
I think the opposite, Stan. I actually think. I think.
See,
I think it would be a
see
hard.
what you're saying is. Go on, Ted. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it would be a harder game against Bournemouth if they've got nothing to play for, because they've got such a bunch of talent there that the only reason I think they're playing poorly at the moment is the pressure of the situation's getting to them. And I think if they're in that pressurised situation when we're playing, I think there'll be I say easier opposition. I think it will be a benefit to us. Whereas if they've got already there and they've got nothing to play for, they just want to show off in front of their fans that they've got promoted, they're just going to go out quite freely and play. So that's how I would see it.
They will play the Forest game before they play us, won't they? That will be their last match when they play us, won't it?
Yeah.
So that would be gone. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, Ted, about should they need something. Mind you, it would be a tense-hole game for both of us. Should we need something?
Of course.
Yeah. But I intend to put my feet in the water, go for a paddle in the water before I go to the game. So put my hat on, put my handkerchief.
It's not the river. It's not the River Jordan, George.
And then.
And then if we actually win the game, George, and we are in the playoffs, are you going to go run naked and skinny dip in the old sea there?
No, I can't find the beach.
No, if old George does that, he'll probably.
No, to say, Stan, if you've done that, you get the same. You get the same reaction there was in George when it was coming out. That beach had to be dispersed very quickly.
But the difference is, in George would get nicked, and Parkhurst ain't very good. No, and Parkhurst ain't too far away, is it? And that would become his Alcatraz. That'd be the last we see of George.
But I think they're either going to be all done and dusted Bournemouth and won't have to worry, or else it's going to be a tense-hole occasion, and it's going to be, it may well be tense for us, and it'll be quite a game that way.
Yeah, they've got two
and
tough
I'm
games
looking forward to
us.
it. Yeah, and I think the Forest game is the all singing, dancing one for them, if I'm honest.
Especially the way Forest are coming up on them.
Yeah, well, I think Forest are the form team. You always have a form team, and I think, as you were saying, Ted, they're a little bit sort of worried at the moment, Bournemouth, or they seem to be playing like that because they certainly got some of the best players in the league, haven't they? That's for sure.
But here's a thought, though, guys. If Bournemouth do it and Forest fall at the last hurdle and get beaten by Bournemouth, could that be like, we failed at that one? Would they then be the one that you do want to play because they're the ones that are down on their haunches because they haven't made and they could easily quite fall out in the semis.
Yeah, the wind might have been taken out of their sails because of that. They are the informed side, as George quite rightly pointed out. But remember, recently they did lose to Luton, so they're vulnerable for us. They're not as high. They are high flying, but not as high flying as they appear to be at this moment in time. And like Gary has just mentioned there, which is a very good point, it could just knock the wind out of their sails because I'm pretty sure they believe at this moment in time they've got a real good chance of finishing second, the way Bournemouth are playing. So, as you say, quite rightly, they might be the side to play in the playoffs if we was to get in there. But I said it earlier, if we was to get in there, none of them would bother me, none at all.
Right.
Let's look forward to playing at our place. That's for sure.
Yep. Let's hear again from Bethany. But just to say, guys, that's been a really good chat. A lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So well done, brilliant, lovely thoughts.
That's George.
So
don't shut up, that George.
So let's hear from Bethany, and then we've got a few comments before we all say goodbye.
Hi everyone, it's Bethany Warren again. Thank you for listening to tonight's show. I just want to remind you all that in the 59th minute of the Peterborough game, we will be doing a minute's applause for Ted Ayres, a very close family friend of ours that sadly lost his battle to pancreatic cancer. Ted was a lifelong Millwall fan, and his family and friends will be at the game on Saturday, so it'll be really nice if we can get the Den as loud as possible in that 59th minute for him. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thanks, Bethany. We've also heard from Steve Allison, who was Ted Ayres' brother-in-law. As we know, Ted has passed away, and the club have been excellent, especially recently when the little boy and Danny McNamara, etc., passed on the extra money that a little boy passed on to Danny to cancer research. And that's what Ted's wife has asked for today, that they want any donations that they were going to put forward to go to cancer research, and pancreatic cancer in particular. So I'll read this out, but if you speak to our tweet around, I'm sure you can find the link to go there. So it's togetherinmemory.pancreaticcancer.org.uk/in-memory/Ted-Ayres-. I'll say that again, togetherinmemory.pancreaticcancer.org.uk/in-memory/Ted-Ayres-. So yeah, let's just all give generously, and thanks again, everyone. Also, a mention to friend and regular contributor to the show, Kelly Webster. She has today hung up her gloves and boots due to injury this week, and I just want to say thank you, Kelly. You contribute to the show a lot. What you do with the Lions Food Hub is absolutely superb, and I'm sure my sentiments will be agreed by all the panel tonight, to say thank you for what you've done and good luck in your retirement, and continue the good work. Thank you.
Yeah. Well done, Kelly.
Well done, Kelly.
Cool.
It's too early, Kelly, but unfortunately we know it's why you've got to do it. It's too early. And as opposed to what people said to me when I hung mine up, it was too late. I should have done it 20 years beforehand.
Indeed. But don't forget, you'll be able to listen to the No One Likes Us Talking team bring reports from our games, both home and away, with our roving reporter, Kai Bennett. You will also be getting Community Matters 2 on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM. Thank you, guys. That's it from me. Thanks, Ted, Stan, and George.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Gary.
Good night.
Good night.
Cheers.
So finally, it's good night from me, and it's good night from them.